Hey everybody, you're very welcome to In Forest and Lands. I'm Joe Price, Wilderness Skills Instructor, and running from the sun like Nosferatu behind the camera is Ida Olsen. And in this video, we wanted to share with you some of the tips and tricks we picked up along the way to take your bushcraft kit to the next level. If you happen to be outdoors and you got yourself your nice basic kit and you're really starting to enjoy the outdoors, in this video, we're going to show from our experience some of those nice things to be able to purchase to kind of take your enjoyment of the outdoors to the next level and make it a bit more comfortable and easier outside. So the first item out the bat is a fire bellows. These can seem a bit gimmicky. In fact, I thought they seemed a bit gimmicky when I first saw them. I didn't want to be going outside. Handy for the whiteboards if you're a teacher. And these are also the most easily attainable. They're basically car aerials if you happen to be old like I am and you remember these type of car aerials. But if you happen to be in second-hand stores, you can buy old radios or old pieces and just snap these off. Basically the same thing. They're also widely available on Amazon, and people who have found them cheap can leave links below. But this one's purpose built with a little bit of a mouthpiece, a bit of a protection here in case you stick it in the fire. But what they allow you to do, for those who haven't seen them before, is to stay away from your fire and really direct air into the bottom of your fire to create that kind of bellows, that kind of blacksmith in these more inclement weather conditions. Now, I hear you say there's a million and one ways to do it without this, but if you happen to be out in the woods more than average and you happen to be around campfires more than average, there's something me and Ida can't stand. Yes, you can get down and piece your fingers together to blow into the fire, but chances are you're losing eyebrows, you're losing caps, you're going to have your elbow in the snow. It's a good way to do it if you ain't got it. Or you can take the lanyard hole of your knife. This doesn't have a lanyard hole for the first time ever. Or you can take a lanyard hole on your knife if you happen to have one and blow through that. But again, you're risking getting very close to the fire. You're risking getting your face singed, or if the wind happens to change direction. So something like this, me and Ida have in all our kits. I carry it in my hip pouches and I carry it in my bag. Allows you to be nice and safe from the fire and get a lot more heat into it, and you don't pass out from oxygen deprivation. So that is one of the best ones that you can get. And in fact, if you get nothing else from this video, these will improve your outside trips. I even find them at half length really nice if you're trying to get a Tinder bundle, or you're trying to get maybe a bit of air into a bow drill. That is the secret. Next out the bat is the soldier's favourite. It is waterproof socks. Waterproof socks, I hear you say. Madness, Joe. I'll have trench foot for days. It's more of an emergency option. I always recommend carrying 2 pairs of socks when outside. As you can see on the ground here behind me and off in the beautiful distance, that the ground in Sweden is covered in sphagnum moss. For those who don't know, sphagnum moss holds like a ridiculous amount of water. So when you're out in sphagnum moss, it will eventually destroy your boots. It will seep into leather boots, it'll seep into the best of boots, and it will eventually destroy your socks. So you can get yourself a pair of Gore-Tex socks, really cheap. Sealskins are the name brand, but pro tip, nearly all militaries around the world use sealskin socks for their soldiers. These happen to be a pair of British ones. You can get them from American ones, you can get them from German ones where Corinthian makes them. But you can hear, hopefully, that these are Gore-Tex lined. They can be warm, they're not the best for moisture evaporation, but if I've had to walk, and so has Ida, have to walk through sphagnum moss for maybe 2 or 3 hours at the end of a very long day, and our socks and our feet are becoming saturated, you can take them off, you can dry them, you can swap out into a pair of Gore-Tex socks, and I have videos on my media or on various other platforms where you can see me standing in a puddle with these, and my feet are perfectly bone dry. So just a nice little bushcraft tip to throw in your backpack. They're very inexpensive, but save you that bit of hassle, because if you take your boots off, and this is where people need to be thinking, if your boots become oversaturated, you take them off, you put on a pair of wool merino socks, you're still putting wet boots back on, your merino socks are going to get destroyed. This is how you stop that. Okay, the next is tarred Bankline. This is probably the bushcrafter's favourite. The old hats out there will definitely know what tarred Bankline is, but for those who haven't heard of it, this is also a very cheap way to upgrade your experience outside. Remember, if you're not good with knots, you should always tie lots. I mean, in fact, I should really capture some of Ida's knots. They're almost works of creation, never to be replicated again, but they do the job. And what helps people who are struggling with knots is tarred Bankline. paracord, which is usually what's used in the outdoor space. One is kind of mainly made of plastic, which is fine. I love paracord. I use it for a lot of things, and you can check out those videos. But when I have to tie something that I don't want to stretch, and that is kind of maybe a pro tip for those who don't really study cordage, is there's static rope and then there's non-static rope. And that's just basically static rope won't stretch. It has very little stretch in it, and then other rope will stretch. Paracord will stretch. So as you build your tripod, as you build your A-frame bed, your paracord will eventually stretch over time, especially if it gets wet. Tarred bankline does not like to stretch. It's pretty static, and that tar on the rope allows it to bind better in knots, and then you can create your beautiful Eda knots, which are works of art. They should be in the Louvre, Eda's knots, or at least studied by scientists in Area 51. But bankline is what saves that. You can carry a lot of it, very small, it's very cheap and widely available, and will easily, and I think most of the old hat bushcrafters out there will agree to the new hat bushcrafters out there, that bankline is a game changer when you're in the woods. Okay, next out the gate is the danglers. Easy now, boys in the back of the class. But having a good dangler for your belt outside in the woods is a great way to kind of make life outside a little bit easier. I always have a dangler on my belt, or I have a belt that has danglers attached to it, simply because you want to be able to maybe keep your gloves on you, you want to take your belt off, you want to take your you shouldn't take your belt off. Well, you can take your belt off, but anyway, you maybe want to remove the accoutrements, fancy words, accoutrements, from your belt when you're sitting down, when you sit around the campfire, especially after dark, or if you're having a few how should we say adult beverages. You shouldn't really have your tools on you, so having to take your belt on, take your belt off, run it through your loops can get annoying. So I like to have these danglers on my belt loops for maybe I want to carry my axe, take my axe off, put my knife on, take my knife off. You get the idea. It's leather with a carabiner, it's a dangler, but it does actually make life outside very smooth and saves you having to drop trow when you don't want to be dropping trow, or like me, absolutely losing your patience at the end of an 8-hour day filming with Eda, and you've taken your belt off for the 7th time and you're starting to lose your mind. Danglers save that. So this is a tip, because we wanted to put something in there for all budgets, although these are all very inexpensive, but this is more to illustrate an idea. When myself and Eda come out to the woods all the time, we're not always ready to be able to go around chopping wood, cutting wood, splitting wood. Sometimes it's just non-conducive to what we want to do outside. So you can literally, and this is the whole point of this message, is carry some kindling with you. You can carry just a straight up birch log that you bought in the gas station, chop it down to a good size, maybe something the size of this tube, and stick it in your backpack. At least it's dry. Myself and Eda actually prepare some kindling, and you can see here we have a piece of birch in this container, and we have some finely prepared ultra dry kindling that is contained safe in this tube. So we just have this sitting in one of our backpacks, especially in the winter months when you can have a bit of rain, or like again the sphagnum moss, an awful lot of moisture comes off the ground and that can affect your fire. So having something of this size, whether it's just a log or a tube with pre-prepared kindling in it, saves you a lot of time and hassle. One of the main reasons why I've started to carry this is one day I'd hurt my hand when I was out in the forest. I actually cut my fingers on some stone that I found in the ground, some hateful piece of flint that cut me up, and then I was like, oh, it's going to be difficult to prepare this kindling, and difficult it was. So now I just carry this out there for all those many reasons. It's free, you can do it at home, you can make it as nice or as complicated or as uncomplicated as you want, but we just want to get across that idea. It's something we don't see too often, and people start scrambling around in rainy weather and everything. This weighs absolutely nothing and saves you a lot of time in the woods. Staying on the subject of fire, ease of life and emergencies, carrying extra fire backups is very important. Again, you can make them yourself at home using cotton pads and wax and paraffin and everything you want to do, but we carry these purpose-built ones. These are just extra big matches infused with an accelerant that are easy to strike off of any almost surface, and then they light and you can put them in the fire. Again, if you pair this up, which is a very small addition, with the kindling that we are already carrying, you're almost guaranteed to get a fire off the ground with the skills that you should have when you start looking at items like this. This is the Wazoo Firecard. I was sent this all the disclaimers in. I was sent this with no pressure to actually use it, try it, or take pictures of it. But when I actually tried it, this is fantastic. The reason why it is fantastic is because it is a little bit more stable. In fact, a lot more stable than your paraffin wax ones, and they won't melt in your wallet. They won't melt in the tins in your bag if you're having those troubles. And what I love about them is I don't always carry fire accoutrements. Many of us have been to the fire, our bag is in the tent, maybe we forgot something at home. I carry these everywhere. I have a phone case that looks like I'm a 60-year-old professional Candy Crush player, and it allows me to keep all my cards and stuff in it. So this is where I keep some of them, and I always have my phone on me, and I always have my wallet on me. So it's nice to be able to get next to a fire. Oh no, I've no birch bark. The instructions are on the back, and it's easy game, easy life. Not something that you have to go out and buy. Again, we're trying to be encouraging to all budgets. Make your fire starters at home. The point is fire starters and more purpose-built emergency fire starters are a great way to step up your game from your very basic kit, and the Wazoo card is probably my top pick for this video. If you can get your hands on these, get them. Staying on the topic of Wazoo, they make great products and great step-up products. The people behind Wazoo genuinely are a great team that take feedback from guys like me and every other outdoor professional around the world on filling those gaps that we're always looking for when we're out there. It doesn't have to be Wazoo. In fact, Field and Steel sell an amazing sharpening stone, and that's what I'm going to talk about. When people head out into the woods, you have the stereotypical Falcon even, CC4, the DC4, the double stuffs, etc. They're very expensive, and depending on your skill level when you're outside, can be actually more damaging to your blades than if you had something softer. The Wazoo sharpening necklace is something that I use all the time, and the Jade Stone from Field and Steel is sitting next to my couch every day to be just able to hone up my blades. It might take you a bit longer to take a nick out of your blades, but nicks in the woods are not a major problem. And I mean, unless you're putting a chip in your knife that makes it look like a bow saw blade, these tiny microchips aren't going to really ruin your experience outside till you get home. But if you want to hone your blade at the end of the day, or hone your pocket knife, or hone your fish hooks, or what you may need to do, these little stones are absolutely fantastic. They're very inexpensive. They take up no space, and you can sit around the campfire honing your knife at the end of the day, or repairing some bent edges. Yeah, bent edges. There's so many names for so many things in the knife world. Rolled edges. There we go. I'm back in the game. Sorry. Rolled edges on knives. You can kind of fix these very easily with a sharpening stone. Why do I recommend these particular stones, or jade stones? Because they are very, very forgiving. If you're going to be sharpening your knife in the woods, you could be tired, it could be raining, you could be sitting by the fire, it could almost be dusk or dark, you could be using a headlamp, and carrying these very aggressive stones will damage your knives, whereas these can be more forgiving. You can sit there a bit longer, and they're more useful for people who are now making that leap from being outside for a few hours to maybe wanting to explore and spend longer time in the woods. These smaller sharpening stones are a gift. So there you have it, lords and ladies. They are those favourite pieces of kit that me and Ida have started carrying, but it was kit that was inspired by time in the woods. You should always have your basic kit when you're starting off, but then as you go outside and you move around the woods, you're going to start noticing these holes in the things that you do. Perfectly well. So in
They have to do that. No, maybe.
I just stumbled down there.
It's okay. It was funny.
No. I had to stop myself for that. I'll take it from the top.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So there you have it, lords and ladies. They are our next level pieces of kit. And by next level, I want to get this across here. I mean, if you've got your basic kit and you're going out and enjoying the woods, me and Ida's time in the woods has then inspired these next pieces of kit that we needed to help make life outside easier, that were fairly inexpensive and slotted in to the activities that we wanted to do outside. And as I say in every video, if you're the only expert in the room, you're in the wrong room. The comments community, the CC, is going fantastically well, and people all around the world have come up with their own ideas, their own little workarounds, their own little pieces of kit that have helped their lives and their environments outside. And as always, I will pin the top comments and the most useful comments to the top of the comment section. But at the end of the day, regardless of what you do and what you use, get outside, enjoy nature, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.